G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Monday the 11th of March 2019 and the time here is 08:45 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well folks, today I said I would like to talk about survival, prepping and survival. As you all know, we can talk about financials till the cows come home, but basically there's no point. I suppose you get to a certain level of knowledge as regards to the financials. You know, the US is now a recorded 43 trillion in debt. China, 47 trillion in debt. Europe, 50 trillion in debt. You know, the list goes on and on and on. I'm speaking as an Australian here, okay? Here in Australia, we have $1 trillion in debt. We can't pay that back. I proved that to you the other day. Every man, woman and child has to pay something like $50,000 off today to clear that debt. You know, considering that the average household, and this is a well-to-do middle-class working family, has $500 in their back pocket, or $500 to call on at any given time. That's the majority, not the minority. So, if you know all this, what or how do you get out of it? Very simply, you cannot get out of what's coming. There's no way any of us can get out of what's coming. We're all going to have to swallow a big red pill on the day that the system collapses. And it'll be shocking even to people like us who know. We'll be going, oh my God, you know, what have we done to the world? You know, I personally will just be going, well, I told you so. And I will then go into full-on arming myself, preparing my, you know, the stuff that I've got, preparing my family, etc., etc. So, with any good survival, and this is going to sound shocking to a lot of people, I want to do it as an individual basis to a start. Okay, so a man and a woman. Okay, first off, a well-prepared man cannot survive this without a well-prepared woman. And a well-prepared woman cannot survive this without a well-prepared man. Now, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be, oh my God, it's so sexist and blah, blah, blah. Just hear me out. A well-prepared man will know how to do certain things. Cooking, you know, stuff like that, he will. But you need a female's perspective on what you're doing, preparing, because she will know things that are required that a man will never, and I mean never, even think about. And if you're a true fair dinkum bloke like me, you'll know that to be true. A woman will prepare things, but she won't be able to do the heavy duty lifting. Certain things, yeah, sure. But let's be honest, folks, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. There's a big difference between the two, as far as I remember. Well, if you're watching the transgender shit lately, apparently there is no difference. But that's a whole another video that I'm never going to go down that track, you know. I'm an old-fashioned bloke. Just leave it at that. So my point being, if you start off on an individual basis, man or woman, then the paths are completely different. And you need those paths to cross to actually become whole and actually achieve everything that you're going to need to pack or prepare with or for. What are you going to do for yourself? Think about that. Before your family, all your other family members or whatever, what are you prepared to do for yourself? Let me give you an example. Okay, you open up the computer tomorrow, or you're watching the news, and your stock market's going, oh my God, Armageddon, financial Armageddon. Would you seriously get in your car and go to work, knowing what you know on that day? Or would you get in your car and drive to Coles and Woolies or the petrol station? See, these are the questions. While all the pandemonium's going on, and if you're an enlightened individual knowing what's going on, then what would you do? Or would you sit at home and watch the news for 3 hours about something that you already know how it's all going to end anyway? The automatic click button in your head should be, bang, hear the news, bang, get my car keys, bang, go to the petrol station, and then go to Woolies or Coles or Aldi's. It's as simple as that. Fill up 2 shopping trolleys full of canned foods, etc., perishable items, and then chuck it on the credit card and leave. Simple as that. That very one thing could possibly save your lives. But, okay, that's one part of it. The second thing is you need to understand this. Unless you, male or female, put yourself first, and what I mean by that is, sure, you've looked after the family and everything else, blah, blah. Unless you're prepared, once you hear the news, to put yourself first, right? And what I mean by that is, where is my backpack? Where is my shoes? Where is my camouflage kit? Where is my bug out bag? Not everybody else's, just yours, right? Forget about everyone else for the time being, right? The reason is because without you being on, to use an American expression, on point, then all the other stuff goes to shit. I hope that I make myself clear there. I can't tell you how this is going to play out. This may end up being automatic economic crash, nukes flying around an hour later. I am fully expecting China and Russia to do some form of invasion, bombing, something. There would be sleeper cells in the US while we speak from China and Russia. You have no hesitation in believing that. The reason I'm saying that is because the finger pointing will be, it's all America's fault. Because let's be honest, how many people know China's debt limit? No one. And Russia is actually, I have to be honest, probably the El Supremo country financially at the moment, believe it or not. They've got a very high interest rate. Their debt to GDP ratio is very low. They're actually ticking along really, really well in this whole hegemony of bullshit around the world that's going on. But that's not to say they're not going to be affected. They are. Both countries, China and Russia, have escalated their military build-up massively in the last 10 years, leaving America, which has gone the opposite way, where they dismantle their military. So, yeah, the Americans have a lot of infrastructure in the armed forces, but the Russians and the Chinese have actually overtaken them in that regard. Although, let's be realistic, folks. The Chinese have one aircraft carrier. The Americans have fleets of them. That's the reality. But, like I said, it would be in China and Russia's interest to take out America early. That's why they built the South China Sea stuff, because they're going to take America out, and then they are going to start landing troops, planes, etc. in the South China Sea, and they are going to go from there. If you hear of some Russian ships in the near future in the South China Sea military bases of China, right, then you know that it is a totally nefarious action. Totally nefarious. Okay, so keep that in mind. But let's get back to you. Okay. Think about yourself in regards to, what do I need to wear? How do I need to arm myself? What do I need to survive? Bugging in and bugging out. Two different things, folks. So none of this can happen unless you're set up correctly. I've shown you, and it's also come about in America, from America. Americans keep telling us, oh, you've got no guns. Yep, we can get guns. If you want guns, you can get them. You need to join the Shooters Association, and you need to apply down at the local police station. If you want to do that, now would be a good time. I've also shown you that guns, although fine, they are not going to be the be-all and end-all in Australia specifically, because there isn't that many guns around. There is, but people have buried them in the backyards. And I know of several people that have done that. Every farmer I know has got 3 or 4 guns. But you can arm yourself with katanas, swords, karate bows, hardwood bows with a tapered edge, good knives, etc., etc. Now, there's no point having those if you don't know how to use them, or if you're not prepared to use them. Okay? In the future. When was the last time, I'm speaking specifically to men here, by the way, when was the last time you had a full medical checkup? You might think, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you say that? Well, do you want to be on the opposite side of the reset, stroke, financial Armageddon, stroke, war, when you find out, geez, I feel crook, 2 weeks in, and you find out you've got some shit illness that could have been very easily fixed with a tablet before, but you were too pig-headed to go to the doctors to get it fixed. I want to all you men out there, right? Here's our biggest killer: prostate cancer. Kills just as many men, by the way, than breast cancers. That's a fact. But, because of the social feminist aspect of things, it's more important now about breast cancer, which is shocking in itself. But prostate cancer is killing more men, or just as many men as women having breast cancer, but you don't hear about it. So when was the last time you had a blood test for prostate or a check? Get mine done all the time. Get a regular checkup, digit check, and then I get a blood test there at least twice a year. Now, I'm going to put this to you men. I went to my doctor's years ago. Sat down in the chair. I just got back from England. And I said to him, been in England for nearly 20 years. He reached over, grabbed a heap of paperwork, and started ticking stuff. And I said, well, you want to find out what's wrong with me? And he said, no. He said, I'm going to send you for all these blood tests, everything. I even had to do breath tests. So he sent me for all these blood tests because he said, I know for a fact that if you're in England, you wouldn't have had half of these done in the last 10, 15 years. And he was right. But he also said to me one very, very important thing. And this is what he said to me. He said, you own a car? I said, yeah, of course I do. And he said, how much do you pay for it? I said, 20 grand or something. Whatever it was at the time. And he goes, do you look after it? And I said, I'm not a car washer, but yeah, I'll look after it. I'll get the oil done. And he said, isn't it interesting, he said, that you'll look after your car better than you look after yourself. And he said, and that's the case with a lot of men. And he said, that chair you're sitting in, he said, just this morning, I had to tell a bloke that he had terminal cancer from something that could have been fixed 6 months ago if he'd actually come in for a blood test. He said, the last time he went to the doctors was 20 years ago. Why? Because we work so hard, we're all so busy. Right, start from scratch. Get your bloods done. Get a full medical. X-rays. Anything you need to get. These. When was the last time you went to the dentist and got your teeth checked? I do mine religiously as well, every 6 months. And I get a full D scale, etc. And I've got a crown on the front here, so I have to take care of them all. But I want to know that after the event, it's not me dragging everyone backwards as much as possible. Okay? And if you're 50 and you haven't been for a blood test recently, and if you smoke, then, all bets are off. What are you doing preparation-wise? As regards to your health? Are you training? Or are you just a person who bought a bug-out bag and he's just waiting to go and thinks he can carry that bag for 10 hours at a trot? Can you walk? If you can't walk, how are you going to manage? I'm saying that as a person who cannot walk. I can walk, don't get me wrong, but my illness drags me back a bit. So I don't go walking, I go swimming to keep up my fitness. Plus I do things around the house, obviously, to make myself sweat. When was the last time you sweated as a man? And here's another thing. Sweating is not dirty. Sweating is your body's way of getting rid of impurities. And guys, I sweat. My kids have this saying about me, I'd sweat in a freezer. I just sweat. I'm horrible. I can't tell you why. I'm just a sweater. But I seem to get a big heavy sweat and then I just plateau off. It pours out of me for the first couple of hours and then I'm all right. I have no idea why. It's just always been the same. Drives my wife insane because, I'm lying in bed with the fan on full and she's freezing, even in summer. So, you women, I'm living with a menopausal wife at the moment, so I know the joys of that. If you're at that stage of your life, let's be honest, it ain't pretty. And you're as scatty as shit, to be honest with you. So your mind's, everywhere. Have you been for your blood tests? Is there a supplement you can be taking? These are all the things you should be asking yourself, especially if you're the number one person in your family that's going to manage everything. You might not have a husband or a partner or whatever, or they might not believe, so you've got to manage that part of it. So, you know, women have blood tests 3, 4, 5 times a year, so that's no big mystery. That's why they survive till they're 83, 84, whatever the age is. Let's talk about partners. Non-believing partners. Okay. On the day after the event, you're going to be able to turn around and go, there's everything there. Here's my box of seeds, we can grow food, we can, blah, blah, blah. There's our bug out bags. There's our 2 ounces of silver and gold. So we're pretty well set. That's the come to papa moment, so to speak. They will turn around to you, and go, whoa, thank Christ you did that. But don't be surprised if they never even say that. Because all of this is just going to be a huge bombshell for a lot of these people. They're going to be, oh my God, how? Why? Did this really happen? Yes, it did really happen. So you're that conduit, for want of a better term. Okay, so everything is going to be down to you at the beginning. Start your list now if you haven't. They're very easy to do. Make them particular to yourself. Medications. Can you stock up on medications? If you can, get them. If you can't, why not? Can you buy them online? Cheaper. These are the things that you need to be documenting and doing now, not later. Let's talk about food. Growing a vegetable, unless it's spinach, say leafy greens. If it's not leafy greens, you're looking at months, 3 months tops, to get some payback from your seeds. So when people say you need 3 months, you're going to need 3 months worth of food to keep you going until your vegetable gardens kick in, if you haven't planted them already. And here's an important point. If you're going to buy seeds, whether you buy them heirloom seeds off the internet, or you go down to Bunnings and you get seeds, I hear this thing about organic seeds and heirloom seeds and this and that. You know what? At the end of the day, I won't really give a shit what I'm throwing down my throat, as long as I've got food in my stomach, and my kid's stomach, and my wife's stomach. Don't be too particular. Buy what you can, eat what you can. Because if you're hungry, are you reading the label? I don't think so. So be sensible, folks. Get a mix of both. Okay? Just get a mix of both. That's the best thing to do. Okay? Like I said, if they start dropping nukes over each other, then our whole world environment changes automatically overnight. And those heirloom seeds you bought, because you wanted to be arty-farty and sure that you had some, well, they might not be the best option. That's all I'm saying. So be sensible, buy both, and then choose which one you're going to grow. Like in Perth, I grew vegetables all the time, and at the moment I've got an acre of land, but sadly I haven't got any vegetables planted at all. But what I am doing is actually making a huge compost bed that I'm going to put all my beautiful sand on to grow all my vegetables. So all my raked up leaves, etc., all go into that at the moment. So I've got massive amounts of nutrients in the future for the area that I want to grow my vegetables, etc. in. Because don't forget, you are going to literally have one harvest of food and the soil's ruined unless you know how to fix it up properly. Because the nutrients just get sucked out of the ground from when you grow vegetables. Okay? So, I hope that makes sense. Remember, it all starts with you. It doesn't start with me. I'm just an idiot sitting here talking to you about helping you, how you start to become number one. Okay? Now, one thing I do want to talk about, which is sadly going to manifest, is in the prepper community, we are pretty isolated. But when this all happens and after the event, then people are going to realise, well, Prep and his family, they don't really seem to be going anywhere and they seem to be doing okay. So after 3 days, there'll be knocks on your door. Or sorry, after the second day there'll be a knock on the door. Yeah, that will be the inquiring. Did you see what happened on the news? Wow, did you see that story? Can you believe that all their money's gone? I went down to Woolworths and it was shut. I went to get petrol and it was shut. That's going to be the original conversation, whether it's at the door, over a beer, whatever. On the third and fourth days, because don't forget, people don't have enough stuff to last them past 3 days in their house. That's when things are going to turn. And they're going to be knocking on your door saying, hey, Prep, do you have a carton of milk I can borrow, mate? Or do you have a carton of, or you have a tin of beans? Or do you, we've got no food in the house, mate. I don't know what to do. At that point, what are you going to do? This is your next door neighbour, guy you've been over with, parties, blah, blah, blah. Him, his wife, a couple of kids, cats, dogs. What are you going to do? Because I'm telling you, you go and give him that can of beans, then they're going to come back and come back again and come back again. But if you're clever and you say, mate, we're stretched the eyeballs, you haven't got anything either. Be prepared for a couple of days after that when they are literally starving. And that neighbour who may have a baby or whatever, have you ever seen any of these videos where mothers have got hungry children? Can you imagine? With young kids screaming at you. So, what are you going to do? Lock all your doors and windows, etc. Because what's going to happen is, 10 days in, if you're bugging in, people are going to know that you've got food. The reason they're going to know is because you're not going around the neighbourhood knocking on doors. You see my point? They'll start talking and say, I went to Al's place and he didn't have any food, and I went to this bloke's place and he didn't have any food. Ben over the road there, he didn't have any food. And then they'll start putting two and two together and go, well, how come he hasn't knocked on anyone's door? You see my point? Automatically, you become a bullseye. And those sweet people that you used to have beers with ain't so sweet anymore. They're not knocking on your door, they're knocking the door down. Because there's 4 or 5 of them. And they want what you've got. That's where this is heading. So, I'm going to leave it there today. Tomorrow we'll talk about the family dynamic and how you guys have to be prepared to bug in with the family and bug out with the family. Okay? All right, we'll leave it there. Let's do the prayers. Put in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. That's a good verse. I'll read that again. Verse of the day. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. I've waffled on for 30 minutes, believe it or not. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. God bless. Prep out.